13 surprisingly dark behind-the-scenes secrets of I Love Lucy. The network CBS didn't think that Americans would accept a foreigner as Lucy's husband on screen. Lucille Ball rose to success with her popular radio show My Favorite Husband. The hit CBS radio originally aired in 1948, starring Lucille Ball and Richard Dennon as married couple Liz and George Cugat. The show became so successful that the network approached Lucille with the offer to turn the radio show into a television series. At the time, Lucille Ball was married to her Cuban musician husband Desi Arnaz. The musician started his acting career in late 30s but found it very difficult to book roles due to his thick Cuban accent. Lucille accepted the network's offer with the one condition that her real-life husband Desi Arnaz play her on-screen husband. CBS didn't want foreigner to play the husband because they didn't think that 15's American audience would accept mixed marriage couple on screen. To test if that's true, Ball and Arnaz toured the country in 1950 forming a club act together. The tour actually was a success with widely positive reviews. Needless to say, CBS was impressed and agreed to give the role to Desi Arnaz. Lucille Ball almost died filming the iconic grape stomping scene. In one of the most famous episodes of I Love Lucy, titled Lucy's Italian Movie, Lucy gets into a vat of grapes and stomps them with local Italian woman named Teresa Torelli, but she didn't speak any English. Her job was to wrestle Lucille in the grape vat, but when the interpreter explained the scene to her, something got lost in translation. Because Torelli didn't know the fight was being filmed from the waist up, which meant it was a fake fight. Torelli ended up holding Lucille's head under the grape mush and nearly drowned her. The Mertzies despised one another off camera. Tension reportedly grew quickly between William Froley, who played Fred Mertz, and Vivian Vance, who played his on-screen wife, Ethel Mertz. On the show, the Mertzes regularly made fun of each other, and the unkind words between Vance and Froley escalated. Froley and Vance were savvy enough not to jeopardize their jobs on TV's most successful show by openly airing their mutual hostility. So no one but the series writers and directors knew they despised each other off camera. CBS was reluctant to add William Froley to the cast. There was a lot of hesitation about casting William Froley as Fred. The 64-year-old called Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz when he heard their first choice for the role didn't work out. Ball wanted to cast two former My Favorite Husband stars, Bea Benaderet and Gail Gordon, as the Mertzes, but their schedules conflicted. Another favorite was James Gleason, but they couldn't afford him. CBS wasn't thrilled about hiring Froley. He was allegedly a known alcoholic and was considered to be a high-risk cast member, but Ball, Arnaz, and producer Jess Oppenheimer insisted. According to Arnaz, he never missed a day's work, nor was he even a few minutes late during all the years he was with us. Lucille's pregnancy created panic behind the scenes. When Lucille Ball discovered she was pregnant at the end of the first season of I Love Lucy, it appeared the show would have to end. Pregnancy was an off-limits subject at the time. Other than the late 1940s sitcom Mary Kay and Johnny, a visibly pregnant female had never starred on a TV series. The major sponsor of the show, Philip Morris, didn't like the idea of including Ball's pregnancy in the show, but ultimately agreed. And CBS deemed that the word pregnant was vulgar, so it was replaced with expecting. They also called a priest, minister, and a rabbi to oversee the script writing process to ensure that the episodes weren't crossing any lines. They titled it Lucy is on Scent and aired it on December 8, 1952. Smoking was required on camera. I Love Lucy almost never made it to the air because CBS has trouble securing a sponsor for the show. Finally, they reached a deal with tobacco giant Philip Morris, who agreed to sponsor the series. As a result, lots of smoking was featured in each episode, and the name Philip Morris was worked into the dialogue whenever possible. Only Lucy could joke about Ricky's accent on the show. The writers had allowed other characters to make remarks, but in each case the joke was met with stony silence from the studio audience because it seemed cruel for anyone but Lucy to poke fun of her husband's fractured pronunciation. The show used Ricky's accent as a comedic element, but no one had permission to comment on it except his on and off-screen wife. Desi Arnaz allegedly visited sex workers often. While their on-screen marriage was among the fans' favorite acts, their off-screen marriage had some thorns. Desi was reportedly no stranger to Hollywood pimp Scotty Bowers. In his book Full Service: My Adventures in Hollywood and the Secret Lives of the Stars, Bowers described Arnaz as a sweetheart of a guy with a healthy sexual appetite. He said, "He often called me up for girls, tipping them more generously than anyone else I knew." Lucille Ball supposedly knew about her husband's friendship with Bowers and confronted him at a party one evening. According to the book, she approached Bowers, slapped him in the face. Desi Arnaz refused to do the scene. Desi was a firm believer in the American dream because his family fled to Miami from Cuba when he was 17-year-old, with no more than the clothes on their back. They lived in a warehouse with other refugees and got a job cleaning bird cages for a man who sold canaries to pet stores. As a result of his background and strong belief in hard work, he refused to do a scene in the original script of Lucy Tells the Truth where Ricky cheats the system by fudging some numbers on his income tax return. He didn't want his character to be associated with that kind of behavior. Lucille and guest star Harpo Marx. Ball was a long-time admirer of Harpo Marx, but when it came to actually working with him, she was unprepared for his never the same way twice approach to his comedy routines. While Lucille worked with scripts and rehearsals, Marx was more inclined to add a new twist to a scene each time he performed it. In the Hollywood episode where she was required to mirror his moves, she insisted on incessant rehearsals to get the bit just right. But Harper's attitude was, "I've done this bit for 35 years, why do I need so much rehearsals?" In the end, this was one of the few instances where the scene was reshot several times after the studio audience had left and was later pieced together by editor Dan Kahn. Arnaz never forgot his lines. Arnaz had more talents in his bag than just acting. He boasted a photographic memory. In fact, he managed to memorize most of his remarkable lines and scenes by reading through them only once. The fact that the show was to be performed in front of a live audience meant that the cast would indeed need more practice to avoid forgetting their lines out of anxiety. For Arnaz, this was not something he had to worry about. He never missed a single line. There were awards for every applause. Throughout the show, hearing applause from the audience was quite common. It happened when the acting was remarkable, when jokes were particularly funny, and when scenes touched the audience's heart. It might surprise you to learn that the cast was actually paid to get applause. For every applause that a member of the cast got, there was a reward of a silver dollar. Cast members often had to keep track of their earnings per applause on a chart in the studio. Arnaz insisted on realism. Desi had a knack for detail. Instead of using fake props, he insisted that the audience would find it funnier with real items. In the episode Pioneer Woman, the actors needed to pop an 8-foot-long loaf of bread out of the oven. And what better way to portray that than to have an actual 8-foot-long loaf of bread? Luckily, the producers found a bakery in New York City that was willing to bake one at a hefty price. In another episode titled Deep Sea Fishing, Ricky and Fred got into a bet of who could catch the biggest fish, so 200+ pound tunas were needed. They purchased them at San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf, and they were air-shipped to Hollywood in child-sized coffins bagged with ice.